Welcome back to Goodnight Lighthouse. I'm Miss Dorothy, and I'm here to read you another story. And can you believe I have another Groundhog book? Yes, I do. And this one's kind of different because it's not really about Groundhog Day. It's about the groundhog. And it's called Groundhog's Runaway Shadow. Groundhog's Runaway Shadow. This is a book about Groundhog and how him and his shadow have a lot of fun together until the groundhog grows up and the shadow doesn't want to. That sounds like an interesting situation. We're going to have to get inside this book and find out what happens to Groundhog and his shadow. Are you ready to get inside this book with Miss Dorothy? Good. I need you to sit up and listen up because here we go. Groundhog's Runaway Shadow, written by Davie Biedrzycki. The only thing that could keep up with little Phil Groundhog was his shadow. No matter how fast he ran or how high he jumped, his shadow followed his every move. Whether he laughed or cried, his shadow was always there, right there by his side. Even when Phil felt small, his shadow could make him feel bigger. Pretty hippos out walking with gorillas down my street. Phil is singing, and his shadow is singing, and his shadow is much bigger. But everyone grows up, even groundhogs and their shadows. Grown-up groundhogs are expected to act a certain way, but Phil's shadow had other plans. Looks like Phil's a grown-up now and he's going to work, but his shadow still wants to play. Phil's idea of the perfect vacation was taking the bus to the local beach. Shadow dreamed of visiting faraway places. Phil loved scary movies. Shadow, not so much. Phil enjoyed eating dandelions, clover, and tree bark. Shadow craved something spicy, like tacos. Phil liked to be on time. Shadow liked to stop and smell the roses. Phil and his shadow are not agreeing on what they're supposed to be doing. At first, Phil found Shadow's behavior amusing, but a little off-key. Phil's friends found it amazing and a little gross. Burp! Uh-oh, they're in a restaurant and Shadow's burping. But soon it got annoying and then downright embarrassing. P.U. Phil had had enough. Why can't you be like other shadows? I wish you would just go away. Uh-oh, Phil's frustrated with his shadow, and he's saying not nice things. Shadow was crushed. He got angry, but then he thought about it. Phil said he should go away, and he had always wanted to travel. So that night, oh no, what's Shadow doing? And the next morning, he's traveling. And a couple of days later, oh, he's on a train. And into the following week, that's exactly what he did. Phil's shadow's going everywhere, looking at everything. Back at home, Phil tried everything to find his shadow. Oh, Shadow, where are you? He posted signs. Lost. Have you seen my shadow? If found, keep shadow out of shade and call 555-5555 immediately. He's hanging up posters. He used the newspaper. Groundhog seeks shadow. Then he saw Shadow making the news. Without him. Suddenly, Phil's life seemed pretty dull. He longed to be exploring with Shadow. Now he misses him. Halfway around the world, Shadow realized something was missing. He had no one to share his adventures with. Oh, now Shadow's missing Phil too. The thought of searching for Shadow scared Phil silly. He'd have to travel far and wide. But the next morning, and a couple of days later, and into the following week, that's exactly what he did. Phil went looking for Shadow. He searched. Shadow! 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 And searched. Shadow! And searched some more. Finally, when he could search no longer, he had an idea. Wonder what he's going to do. He's opening the pack, hooking up his piano, and he began to play. And when he did, he heard someone gently accompanying him. The two friends played together, this time in perfect harmony. And the next morning, and a couple of days later, and forever after, that's exactly what they did. Except sometimes on February 2nd. Shadow? Well, that was a fun book. Oh my, Groundhog and his Shadow had a lot of fun together. But then when Groundhog started growing up and didn't want to play around all the time, Shadow wanted to keep having fun. And then he ran away. No. And then they missed each other, so they found their way back to each other, which was really, really special. But I like the ending here. I liked how he played with his Shadow all the time. But on February 2nd, which was Groundhog Day, he couldn't find his Shadow. Which is good, because that would mean that spring is on its way. That would make Miss Dorothy happy. I like spring so much better than winter. So we got to see what that Groundhog decides to predict for us. This was a fun book, and I'm glad we got to read it together. I like the way Groundhog and his Shadow got along, and I like the way that they got back together. I hope that you'll remember as you're growing up. Sometimes you just need to have a little fun, even when you're a grown-up. I think that's what Groundhog learned from his Shadow. But for now, I need my groundhogs all to get into bed. Get under those covers, get cuddled up, curled up, snug like a groundhog in his den for winter. Give Mom and Dad lots of hugs and kisses. And remember, when you're out running around with your Shadow tomorrow, and Mom and Dad say, whoops, it's time to slow down. Obey, and obey right away. And then come back and see Miss Dorothy. I'm going to be sitting right here, waiting to read a book to you. Bye! Thanks for reading with Miss Dorothy. I hope you enjoyed this book, and I hope you'll come back soon to read another. What's your favorite book? Drop Miss Dorothy a note and let me know. I'll go find it, and I'll read it to you. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you soon.